Hey,
This episode is brought to you by Nordstrom. Summer's almost out and fall's calling. Luckily, Nordstrom has everything you need for the season ahead, all under $100. Discover new arrivals from your favorite brands like Mango, Princess Polly, Wave, Free People, BDG, and more. Whether you're planning a last-minute getaway, heading back to class, or refreshing your office looks, you'll find the latest trends and beauty must-haves without breaking your budget. It's easy, too, with free shipping, free returns, and in-store order pickup. Shop today, in stores, and at Nordstrom.com.
If you're a lineman in charge of keeping the lights on, Grainger understands that you go to great lengths and sometimes heights to ensure the power is always flowing, which is why you can count on Grainger for professional-grade products and next-day delivery, so you have everything you need to get the job done. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
it's Britt. It was such an honor to step into Eli's world today. If you already know Eli, then you know the energy you're about to get hit with. It's real. When Eli and I sat down for this conversation, I didn't just show up to tell a story. I showed up to have a real, no armor, everything on the table talk about love, loss, healing, and how the wildest, most gut-wrenching chapters of our lives can still be the ones that crack us open and turn us into who we were meant to be. We talked about my show and how the resilience and learning to finally stand in who I am came from sharing my story. Eli didn't just ask me questions. He got it. He saw the layers, the patterns, the humanity behind the headlines. This conversation goes beyond dating horror stories and into the universal stuff. Why we seek love the way we do, how we heal from what has shaped us, and what it means to claim your whole self, the strong, the soft, the scarred, and the still healing, without apology. So whether you've been through heartbreak, are navigating your own storm, or just need a reminder that you're not alone in the mess of being human, I can't wait for you to listen to this. Eli, I adore you. Thank you for holding this space, for seeing me, and for letting me bring my whole self to your listeners. I'm not ready to admit that summer's winding down, but I also need to make sure that I'm getting ready for the fall season. Quince nails it with luxe essentials that feel effortless and look polished. Perfect for layering and mixing, exactly what is needed in the Pacific Northwest. Their styles are so versatile, I find myself reaching for them again and again. The best part, everything with Quince is half the cost of similar brands. By working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middlemen, Quince gives you luxury without the markup. Elevate your fall wardrobe essentials with Quince. Go to quince.com/Brit for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/Brit to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Brit.
Jack Daniels is proudly served in fine establishments, questionable joints, and everywhere in between. So, no matter where you go, in every bar, you'll always know someone by name.
Jack. Jack and Coke?
Shot of Jack?
Jack Daniels, please.
Right away.
That's what makes Jack, Jack.
Please drink responsibly. Responsibility.org. Jack Daniels and Old No. 7 are registered trademarks. Copyright 2025 Jack Daniels. Tennessee whiskey. 40% alcohol by volume. 80 proof.
What is up, audio listeners? Just real quick, if you could just subscribe, rate, and review this bad boy, it helps us out so much and really helps the show be successful. Now, let's get into it.
The SelfHype Podcast.
What is up, y'all? Welcome to the SelfHype Podcast. We have a good interview this week because we interview Brittani Ard. Brittani Ard is a multifaceted individual with a diverse talents and passions, but what really got her on the map was her podcast, a podcast that was all about the struggles and challenges that she had to overcome while dealing with this crazy ass online dating story that went incredibly viral, so viral that through this story, it got her to be the #1 Apple podcast and the #1 Spotify podcast in the USA, UK, and Australia with over 3 million plus and counting. I think it's 6 million listens around the world. What she was able to produce was a phenomenal story of introspection, grief, tragedy, and relatability while navigating deep levels of narcissistic, ratchet ass, crazy story of her meeting a man and him living a multitude of different lives and the different women she got to interview and bring along the way, and realizing they were all being taken advantage of. But it's more than that. There's deeper intention in this story, and I would love for you guys to listen for yourself. Her shows in the podcast notes, but we have a phenomenal conversation in terms of life, love, tragedy, navigating dating, and how even the most craziest moments, like her story on her podcast, navigating with a hyper narcissistic sociopathic man who had multitude of identities, she still doesn't regret it, because all of it made her who she was and a deeper understanding of her. That's kind of what it's all about. So we dive into all that and more, and I'm excited for y'all to listen. Let's get into it.
How are you?
We're doing great. We're doing fantastic. How the tables have tabled and flipped in reverse of me interviewing you.
And it's your birthday week.
It is my birthday week. Yeah. It's Saturday, 19th. So excited for that. Should be fun. Headed to Orlando, family, friends. Gonna have a good.
Most a Leo, almost.
Almost Leo. I think I'm a good mix. The whole Cancer, emotional, Leo rising, a man that can make people laugh with emotional depth. I think that's the perfect package.
Yeah,
But
it is.
it is. Thank you. Thank you. Well, Britt, I'm so incredibly excited to have you here because, girl, you had me at the edge of the damn seat with your damn season 1 of the podcast. I swear to God, I was cooking and I was like, oh, hell no. Oh, hell. Oh, like, you would have me say things out loud. I'm like, oh, God. Like, I'll be at the grocery store and people are like, what the hell is this man talking about? With it you've done. It's such a beautiful job, not only storytelling, but such a world of perseverance and self-actualization and healing that you had to do in order to share it in the eloquent way that you did. But I'm so excited to dive in and tap into your story and who you are, and for the listeners to get to know you. And it's so cool that we got to work together in the past. You interviewed me, now I'm interviewing you. But welcome to the freaking show. So happy to have you here.
Eli, thank you so much for having me. I obviously love working with you. I enjoyed our coaching, and professionally, just the interactions that we have. And I appreciate so much your very kind words about my story. Um, it was a lot as someone that had never cried in front of anyone before, to then dive into, I guess I'll share all my vulnerabilities with the world all at once. It's sort of how I like to do things, though, is just, okay, I guess I'm going to become a vulnerable person, and what better way than to share? And the responses that I got from so many of the listeners was what made it all worth it, because I knew for sure that I wasn't alone in any of the stuff we go through. So it was a lot of fun to do, and really, really hard.
I can imagine. I'm so curious, because the one thing I noticed about this show is that it was so well produced, from the sound effects to the sound design. It really gets you into the story. And I was at the edge of my seat from the very beginning, just because it's such a captivating, like, storytelling, but also production, in terms of the story of you navigating this very toxic, insane situation with this guy, while also diving into really, like, vulnerable parts of yourself. Like, how did this even come about? Because this was very, very well made, and really captivates you as a listener.
I originally was like, I'm going to write a book. And kind of for years, I write a lot. And so I journal, I keep track of stuff. And I'm like, I'm going to write a book. It's finally time. And then nobody knows me. I mean, outside my circles, nobody knows my name. And getting a book out there is really hard. And I said, well, let's try the podcast world. And I walked into my production company, and one of the first things my now producer Sid asked was, "Well, what are your favorite podcasts?" And I said, "I've never listened to one. I don't know.
Wow.
I like see clips of stuff, but I am not a podcast listener." And they said the same thing, like, "Well, what are you doing here?" And originally, the focus of the podcast was going to be on my relationship with Kanan, in the sense of trying to help people see red flags, and it was going to be a little more clinical, and it wasn't going to be about my personal history. It wasn't until we were probably 2 months into recording that my production company came back and said, "We wanna tell your story, and we're gonna keep in the part about Canaan, but we really wanna share your story. We think that's where it is." And so then I just started coming in and recording and essentially trauma dumping for hours on end, and they did such a phenomenal job weaving that story out so that, the intent was I had gotten to a point in my life where I was in a relationship with a man like Kanan, and at my age, I wanted to know how I got there, and that was I needed to self-reflect. So, that's what, episodes 3 through 8 are essentially is what has happened in my life that put me in a position that I was vulnerable to someone like him.
Yeah. Well, that's incredibly beautiful to hear that, because it's not easy to share those things. Uh, and I will say, yeah, as a coach that is very much in this world, it was very insightful and very interesting to hear not only, what he did and what worked and how he made you feel, but also that kind of diving into your history and the being the parentified, a sister and the dynamics with your upbringing with your parents and this level of deep empathy and this longing for connection. It's a remarkable, crazy story, but it feels so grounded and relatable that so many people, unfortunately, have some various degrees. But I love that you put the part of you because then it kind of opens us up to like, okay, who's the hero of the story? Because the best stories are the flawed heroes that figure things out, that these situations turn into a better understanding of them, thus to be the person they're meant to become. So remarkable job with that. Like, what was the reception after it was all said and done and made and out there? Like, I can only imagine, Miss I Don't Cry in Front of People. You got it all coming out now, and it's getting buzz, girl. Don't be like that is the crazy thing to like share it, but then have so many people, relate to this and reach out. So yeah, talk to us about like that aftermath of like after it was sent out and what was the reception like?
We hadn't finished production when we released episode 1, so we were still working on the last few episodes. And I think right after the 4th episode, so the 4th week, which I'm not in this medium, I'm not in entertainment or in the spotlight like this. So not only putting something I've done out there, and then on top of that, putting so much of my soft side out there. May was a really rough month. Like right before we released, I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And we started releasing. We ended up, there's not whatever the equivalent is of going viral for a podcast happened right after the release of episode 4. And so we were getting some downloads in June, and then it hit something, and we had 3 million downloads in July. I went to the top of the charts in 5 countries, number 1 in the UK, Australia, and the US on Apple and Spotify, and we still hadn't finished the season. Like we were still recording. And so everyone is trying to figure out what has happened. And so all of July, I'm getting flooded with listeners reaching out, which was incredible. I had a woman that was like, my therapist recommended this podcast to me. And I'm like, whoa. And we had some bad reviews and some people that don't like me, but the majority of the people are, I feel seen. This is so relatable to me. I thought I was alone in this. And as you said, nothing in my story is sensational or this crazy dramatic thing. It's all love and relationships and grief. And we all struggle with that. And the underlying issues of, for me, always fighting and giving so much of myself to feel loved and cared for when all I really wanted was my mom's love and care.
Yeah.
And realizing through this whole process that I'm never going to get that. And I can't expect a partner or someone else to give that to me. And finding my own self-worth. So I think that it's a tale as old as time where, we're trying to navigate this life. And if we don't reflect on how we got to where we are now, we're never gonna be able to shed that and change the trajectory of where we want to go. So I mean, I had people in my life. There's one thing about putting yourself out to the public. I don't know them. They don't know me. If they don't like me, fine. But people in my life were listening. And there were a lot of stories that they had never heard. People that I am very, very close with. And that was the hardest part is I would run into people or they'd call me and I didn't know that. I didn't know that about you. And that's where being vulnerable really was a struggle for me because these are people that I, have to interact with and have close relationships with. And that's when I felt most vulnerable.
Wow. That makes a lot of sense. That because first off, yeah, you having all these protective parts that have really been with you your entire life, and that's how you've been functioning. And to take this step to share your story and to go through the emotional process and then it to go freaking viral, millions of people like that, you can't even fathom that. But it's kind of wild, right? Where it's like, yeah, it is that one side, versus the people that are closest to me think that only know that protective parts to know that there's so much behind this woman and this story. Like, because what was really interesting too about this was like, you have family and friends and people getting interviewed in this process. And you talk about really difficult things. So like, because my question was originally going to be that, but now I'm curious of like, you said this was kind of like almost like a therapeutic experience for you in terms of having to kind of face and take these walls down. What was it like to have to face those people that only knew protective version of Brittany?
I think a lot of us do this. I definitely do. I have a version of me that's a mom and a version of me at work and a friend and a daughter. And we share the parts of us that we feel comfortable with depending on, who our audience is. And that audience might be your coworkers or your kids. But when we think of ourselves as this all-encompassing human, where really every aspect of your life is at the base, you're reacting to it based on your life experiences and those relationships. And I think I struggled a lot with, I'm known in my profession in a certain way, and it is a very, I'm going to say strong way. And some people might say something similar, but without those nice words. And so really I don't want to say taking the mask down, but really opening myself up to allowing all of those audiences to become one and stand in front of all of them and say, this is me. This is all of me. And sometimes I cry and sometimes I struggle and sometimes I succeed and fail. But you're going to have to accept this new version of me, because it's not a new version. It's just me finally being willing to, I I'm a builder and in architecture by trade, and I wouldn't let my now ex-husband, like, if he came to the job site, I wouldn't let him kiss me hello, because I'm like, I can't be soft on the job site. Like, there's all these men out here that I'm trying to boss around, and you're going to come up and make me look feminine. And I can't do that. And now I'm like, whatever, like, I'll bring my new boo, and so there is something so freeing in just finally accepting myself for who I am, and not requiring other people to accept me, but not allowing people that don't accept me to stay in my life.
Wow. So sounds like you've helped millions of people, but most importantly, you've helped yourself. And not only yourself, like so many different parts of you and ages of you and versions of you, to really show the world the full spectrum of you with the space of security, and know that you could be a badass and, crack skulls on and build buildings while also having a soft side to you. And all those are valuable and beautiful. That's fantastic to see that you've been able to process that.
And I think that's how we all are, right? All of us aren't one piece of us.
Yeah.
And I think that's why my show did as well as it did, is because to me, it really highlighted accepting our faults and flaws and who we are, and being unapologetic about where we've ended up. And as you know, I still struggle with dating. And even with all this healing and all the tools and all of the things that I've learned about myself, I still get lonely. I still want to call up my ex and be like, why didn't it work out? And the difference now is that that's fleeting, or I can recognize that I'm still, seeking that external validation, because I'm still human.
Right.
I'm still going through this, and I probably always will.
Yeah.
But I don't call my ex. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to cry for a little bit and be like, I guess I'm alone forever in that moment. But then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I'm only alone if I want to be. And so I don't know. It's complicated to do all of this. As you know, there isn't a you're healed part ever. You're just constantly learning. And I think for me, I really tried to give myself a lot of grace in this last year. Enjoy the highs and really celebrate the success of the show. Try and ignore the critiques and bad reviews and people on Reddit that think they know me, and take it all as this was worth it, knowing that so many listeners reached out and just said, I felt seen.
Yeah.
And for so many different reasons. People were like commenting on relationships or grief or addicted parents. I mean, the spectrum is huge. And as you said, there's so many people that have had these things happen in their lives.
Yeah.
And I think telling my story in a way that wasn't sensational, and I really tried, and my production company did a great job of not making it clickbaity. We didn't want to, make it dramatic. It's just life. So There's enough drama in just life.
I mean, I don't know, Britt, because episode 2, I was like, oh, hell no. There was like some novella cliffhangers on that one. I was like, hold up. No, I hear you on that, and it's so beautiful to hear you're processing now, that's the biggest thing, right? Is like acknowledging, okay, I know I'm in a storm versus I am a storm. I'm just currently going through a process. I am not this process. I could recognize that I'm in this bird's eye view, and there is highs and lows and everything else, and that's easier to recognize, and that's that progress. And what's even an additional beautiful thing with you is that you're willing to share it and help others as you navigate that. Because so many people are just feeling like they're alone and they're the only ones going through it. So yeah, I really applaud you on that. And obviously dating's going to be a hot ass mess, which that was going to be my question. I mean, there's so much for us to unpack here, but we'll talk dating for a sec, and we'll probably circle around to dating. I was like, how the hell does she date after this? Because you said something in the show that I very much recognize and +1 on is manipulation as an art form, and it very much is. That's what's interesting, because I'm coming from the angle of a former dysregulated, like, avoidant man that's looking for validation. This with oh boy was an entirely different spectrum that I can't even fathom. And to hear the stories from all these other women that were just coming out of the woodwork, you shared story after crazier story after crazier. I was like, that's when I was at the grocery store. I was like, what the hell? They thought I was mad at the prices of tomatoes, but it was really hearing these crazy ass stories in my ear. And so, and to hear how all these women navigated in their own ways, but also share this commonality, and the fact that you even got to talk to them and unpack these things. Like, did you find all these women just off the website you were talking about of like, are we dating the same person? And did you make a post like, hey, do you know this dude and want to get interviewed? Like, how did you even collect all these stories and women?
So originally when I had posted in the group, when I started finding out, and learning that literally everything this man said is a lie. And I don't just mean like he's dating other women. I mean, I don't know if he really likes pineapple on his pizza. I mean, because he lied to all of us about every aspect of his life. He was a different person. Similar, some stuff similar, but
But real quick, I just need to let the listeners know you need to listen to this podcast, because I know you're thinking, oh yeah, he said he's a garbage man, and then he really didn't. No, I'm talking entirely different. Like, go to Party City and put on a multitude of costumes, and with profession and history and all, like it's like a CIA agent. Like, it's insane. So I just want to preface that so everyone could the show will be in the show notes. But sorry, go on, Britt.
I wish I could say I didn't think he was intelligent, but you would have to be highly intelligent to manage the way that he does, because he was very personally, he would remember personal details about me. So it wasn't just this overarching, like he had a whole system. Maybe it's in his notes app. I don't know. I don't know how he kept it up. So originally when I made the post, there were a lot of women that I connected with, and then I created a private online group with the women that had reached out. So there was a period of time where we were all sort of telling our versions of him, being like, what, and through that, a couple of the women were like, oh, and I heard this name, and he said it was his sister. And so I would reach out to that person, and then they had a similar story. So I have talked to women going back at least 18 years of his relationship history. And I got to tell you, he's been doing the same thing across the country. I had people in North Carolina and Texas and Arizona, California, Hawaii. And, it's been phenomenal though with these women, because not all of them decided to share obviously. But they didn't want to share publicly because a lot of them, the relationship might have been 15 years ago. They've moved on, they've healed. They didn't want to reopen that. But I'm still in communication with most of these women. One of them is dating now again, and I'm so excited. And I'm like, I need his name and social security number. I'm doing a background check. But, the one thing I will say about Kanan is all of the women that I've talked to so far have some sort of childhood trauma or emotional, I'm trying to think of a nice way to say it. Something happened where they do seek that validation, or they're, willing to sort of sacrifice a little of themselves to feel that love. But every single one of them is also incredibly successful as a parent and in their job. And all of the other aspects of them are just these strong women. It's, it's me. It's a whole bunch of me's. And so he has a type. But that gave us this common thread where it's like, yeah, we aren't dumb. We didn't fall for this. We trusted in someone the way that we expect people to trust in us, and we got played.
Yeah.
But I'll say that if I could go back and have swiped left on Kanan, I wouldn't have, because he taught me more about myself and what I want for my future than anyone else has. He was the catalyst for me really diving into this, and I would do it all over again.
Wow. That
It was rough.
I wanted to hit on that too, because I thought that was what was so profound at the end, where you said, I don't regret it.
No.
Like, I don't regret the experience. And I think there's something beautiful about unpacking that, where it's like, we could see these losses or failures or see them as just like, oh my God, woe is me, everything else. These experiences that bring up all these emotions and force you to kind of look at yourself, and all this introspection is very therapeutic. And it really shows that even those hard moments, difficult moments, can be more beneficial than something to just work out with. And it's even more phenomenally interesting that you got to meet all these women and dissect them and kind of see these patterns and reflect in yourself. Because I have to bring this up, is what was interesting was, like, a lot of the women were like, how do you have the time? How do you have time? How do you have time? And I was thinking, guys always have the time. And from a dude's perspective, I was kind of like not putting myself in his shoes, but trying to like kind of get the other side of it in a way that's like, okay, I'm trying to figure this dude out. And at a certain point, it's just so far gone where it's just such a sociopathic lack of consideration of a fellow human being. But like, in the commonality of men, it's like, okay, how are guys so good at this? It's like, you do anything for like 10,000 hours, you're going to get good at it. So if you're the type of guy that's insecure and doesn't have emotional safe spaces and have grown up to know that your validation comes from women, and it's almost like survival at that point. So you do that since you're a little boy, just going and going and going and going and going and going and going. So, and once you get to that adult age and you doing all these things, it's like, if you're really not okay and that's left unchecked, that could be so, like, phenomenally destructive, in terms of dating, relationships, and everything else. And you said it yourself, these women are awesome and powerful, but there's these parts that are still wounded that they're seeking this validation. And that guy who lives and breathes off manipulation and control, oh, I'm gonna stick my fangs into that, and it's just like, it's such a beautiful example, not beautiful, destructive, but also beautiful example of just different degrees of what we all go through. But I love the level of inner perspective and growth with it as well, which is something we can all take away with. So you said how, okay, dating's complicated. And my big question to you is, how the hell do you date after this? Like how, like, are you asking for social security numbers? Like, how have you navigated like going through such a crazy experience to like looking for love now?
Um, Not well, and very well, as good as I can. I will say that that first year, um, after I dated a lot, but I wasn't looking for a relationship.
Mm.
So I guess what the best way I can phrase it, I won't send my dad this episode, but is after my divorce, when I started dating again, Kanan was one of the first men that I dated. And so after Kanan, I spent a year in my hoe phase. And, I was not looking for anything serious. So I was vetting the people I was dating, making sure they weren't violent or,
Right.
going to hurt me physically. But I also didn't really care to get
Right.
to know them on a deeper level. Um, when I got through that and started wanting to find someone that I could have or build a relationship with, um, it was it was really complicated because I had gotten really good during that year at being casual,
Mm.
um not being standoffish, still keeping myself vulnerable to conversations, but also not putting myself in a position where a man could manipulate me the way that Kanan had. So at the end of that year, I was like, "Oh, I got this." Like, I just spent a year dating and I wasn't anxious and, I've healed. I've healed from Kanan. And then I started dating with intent and realized real fast that I had not healed, not addressed the issues, but just avoided them. And it was really hard. I'm anxious, attachment style. And I meet somebody and I'm like, I create this story and I'm like, this is going to be so great. And then shockingly, I'm constantly trying to make that story true as opposed to just living in that moment. And that's when I took a step back from trying to date with intention. And I was like, you need to figure this out before you actually try and do this. And I'll say, and I think we've talked about this. Maybe we haven't. I dated someone last summer that I thought was I thought it was going to go somewhere. It was a really amazing connection. Everything about it was really great. He was a great guy because he was cousins with a friend of mine. I had vetted him down to in diapers, like, you are a good guy sort of thing. What I learned is he's avoidant. And so it was really great in the beginning. And then once it started being like, no, you really need to, commit or figure some of the stuff out, he was out the door, like, roadrunner flames, running down the street. And at the time, I didn't really understand the avoidant, anxious attachment like dynamic. And so, immediately I just felt so defeated. Like,
Yeah.
there really isn't somebody. I am not capable of building a good relationship. I'm just broken. And it took me some months. Um, it's I met you last December, so that was about the time where I was like, I really need to dive in to. I might be able to spot the red flags and figure out how to stay away from the sociopaths and the true narcissists. But I didn't even think about the avoidance. And so it's where I learned that you don't heal. You just figure out ways to navigate new stuff that comes up as you're learning it and trying to develop relationships. So that's kind of where I'm at now, Eli, is I'm um dabbling in dating. I've gone on some dates, but I just I think I need to do a little bit more work on really understanding that I don't need a partner. So if I want a partner, I need to find a way to interact with men in a different way than I have my whole life, and build something that is that could be, long lasting. But I'm not in a rush for that.
Okay,
And
let's get.
and I have a bin verified. I pay for the subscription, not an ad. I don't get paid for that, but um, I I do deep dives on anyone I go on a date with. Just to answer your original question, it's um, I find out their phone number. I figure out, like, by the time I get to the first date, they're like, "Oh, and then I went to school here," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Like, "Yeah, I know. I know everything you've done," but I don't say that to them. It's, there's a line, I think, where, and I know that some men get salty about this, but I do think that there is a line where women are men are dating to find something, whether it's sex or love or whatever it is they're doing. Women are also dating for that, and we're trying to not get physically hurt or, you know, harmed in a way that we can't really come back from. So anytime a guy gets salty if they find out that I did a background check, I'm like, "Hey, you're not my guy. Like, you don't get it." So,
Right. Yeah.
uh,
I mean, so just for the record, there's a website that you get all the data from, because I'm sure a lot of ladies are leaning very in listening. How does she vet these guys exactly? Put it all out there, but I'm like, if it is it just looking up their number and
so a couple quick, like, easy dating tips that I use to stay safe. I have a Google Voice number that I use for dating. So it means that it's a free number. It's an app on your phone. You don't have to do anything special. But if they search your phone number, they can't find your address. They can't find your full name. They can't find out, some stuff about you. Um, I like to exchange numbers pretty quickly, and then I get their number and I do a full background check, and then I stalk their Instagram. The background check usually kicks out their usernames, and I'm not looking for what kind of car they drive. I don't care if they own their house. I want to know. There was a guy that I was supposed to go on a date with, and I did a background check. He had 9 DV charges, and I'm like, yeah, that's a no. And so, you know, just to stay safe. Or there was another guy who was very married with, like, kids in his Facebook profile, and I'm like, yeah, you're
he
blocked.
was on the Facebook.
Yeah, like, public Facebook profile, and he's on a dating app. So
Wow.
the amount of people that that have tried to match or whatever that are married or in relationships is like astonishing. But so there's that aspect of it. But I can't go into details on it because I don't want to get kicked out. But there are groups on Facebook that are for women, and you have to get vetted to enter them, and it is just to you know share details on problematic men, and not men that don't pick up the check, men that
Right.
beat their girlfriends, men that SA
Right.
and like Kanan are incredibly emotionally and mentally abusive, which I think is just as destructive as some of
Yeah.
the other abuses.
I think so too. You shared a lot of beautiful, not beautiful examples, but prime examples of what that emotional abuse can lead to in terms of completely shifting people's careers and livelihoods because of that very reason. So you've done a good job in, like, sharing how deeply impactful in a negative way that could happen in a person's life. But I want to thank you for sharing that, and also I want to acknowledge all the things you said prior too, as well, as because it's very relatable to struggle with this anxiety and want love and know that there's still parts that are dysregulated and scared or maybe jump or what have you. And you're right, that attachment style is such a big network of confusion and push and pull. And it's like, I literally just was yapping about it today of like, because a lot of anxious attachers complain about avoidant attachers, but you could see an avoidant attacher as a self-reflection of your anxiety. And that's a lot of opportunity, kind of what we talked about in that self kind of realization of, oh, there's a dynamic here. And the only reason why there's a dynamic because I'm a part of it. So why and where and how and all of that? Because yeah, I mean, I always tell people this, like avoidants are people pleasers. Like, and the people are like, no, not my avoidant. I'm like, he got your ass because he's a people pleaser. That's how he functions to win you over. But yeah, and when things get real, what does he do? Pulls away, pulls away, pulls away. So yeah, it's that thing to like, all right, this is the next frontier, and I still want to be hopeful and optimistic, but also, I've been through these past situations, and it's difficult. And I hope you don't think you're broken now.
I do sometimes,
Okay.
but when I get that thought or I get that feeling, I almost immediately try and step back and say, do you think you're broken? Or do you think that there are things that you can do for yourself to put yourself in where you want to be in life? And so to me, it's a fixing the problem without acknowledging that I don't know that broken is bad. I don't know that broken means that it can't be fixed. I think that broken means that there's something that needs to be addressed. And you got to find the tools and the support and the strength to give yourself enough grace to say, I want something different. What do I need to do for myself? Because I can talk all day about how Kanan is, this dusty ass fam. All day I can talk about how he did this, he did that, he did that.
Right.
I can't change any of that, and that won't change any of my life. The only thing I can do is self-reflect and say, why was I in that place? Why did I allow that? Why did I ignore these things? And as you said earlier, with the avoidant attached person, I'm at a place where I think one of the greatest things that I've learned is when I start spiraling in a conversation or I start feeling this this anxious, this anxiety around conversing with someone, I step back and I'm like, this person is dysregulating me. Not I am broken or I need to figure out how to change myself to make this relationship work. But I'd step back and I'm like, this person is dysregulating me. And this guy last summer, he wasn't malicious. He wasn't trying to. He wasn't trying to, hurt me.
Yeah.
But when there isn't that communication or self-reflection, that's kind of what we do to each other. And I think that's where the harm comes in. When people continue to date and try and form connections without really addressing who they are and how they can control themselves in saying yes and saying no to things. Like, you know what? You dysregulate me. You got to go. And it's okay. No, no hard feelings. But I think we try and create and get to the end amazing love story too fast. And I am absolutely, I do that all the time. And so slowing myself down and understanding that in order to really get what I want in a partner, it's going to be slow. It's going to be boring. And boring make me anxious. Boring makes me anxious. And so that's what I'm currently working on is how can I be bored with a man? And build a relationship because that's what I want. I don't want the drama.
Yeah.
Hell
yeah. I will plus one that. Being a former disorganized, fearful, avoidant man, dating was fun. and it was exciting, and it was a rush, and it was all those things, and it was the romance, and it was all of it. And now secure, I feel like I'm boring as hell. So I'm like, oh, this feels good, but there's other parts to you that I still have to know, and I'm not going to drink the Kool-Aid just yet, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I just know that I'm dating with intention now, so I need to kind of understand you as a human being, and see if we. But that's not fun, I want to make out with you in Europe, and I have to see you again, Julio. It's like it's that passion that we grow up with wanting and longing for. But there is this beautiful next frontier of like, okay, I'm so used to just finding excitement and forcing it into a space of safety, where now I am the space of safety, and how do I like reverse that and create excitement? And is that possible? Or is there a blending of both? Because human beings are all over the goddamn place. So I'm really proud of you, of the work you've done. I'm really proud of you to hear like deeper parts of your story and your childhood and your upbringing. Because you could connect all the dots to why you move in the way that you do, and looking for love and wanting that longing and crushing it in these other areas. But when it comes to this deep, emotional, vulnerable part to you in terms of partnership, it is challenging. So that's the big thing I love that you're honoring, and you're hugging the dysfunction. You're kissing the forehead of the brokenness. Like you see why and where and all of it, and give it love and grace and compassion versus beating it up. And I see you just practicing this curiosity in such a beautiful way. And what's awesome is like not a lot of people can have these conversations with themselves. And it says a lot about your work. So girl, I'm excited for you because the man, yeah, he's a little boring. He got a fanny pack, but man, is he good to me, and he is great. Yes, I'm the one riding the motorcycle, and he's holding me, feeling safe yet dangerous. But man, my nervous system isn't shot. It's like I could feel safe with him, and that's the inevitable frontier of what you're going through because you set a standard just based on how you're conversing with yourself, and it's so beautiful to see. And I think this is such a good example of a woman who has done the work. And this still has more work to do, yet we all do, but is able to face those things that she's working on and play and challenge and move forward with. So I'm incredibly proud of you, Brittani. It's awesome.
It means so much for you to say that to me. You have also a different insight into some of my other stuff. So like, I really appreciate it. I will say one of the things that's really helped me is, you were talking about excitement, like it's which you want that rush, you want all that stuff. I repeat whenever I'm like, oh, this guy's kind of boring. And in my head, I'm like, I thought dysregulation was excitement. And it's not. It was my nervous system on fire. And so now I'm like, was I really excited? Was that really exciting when he swept me off my feet? Or was I reliving that pattern because it felt comfortable to me? And so this whole process has just been me being uncomfortable. And in season 2, the first episode, I say, and this was a big thing for me to figure out, was I used to tell people all the time, like, I'm getting off this roller coaster. Like if I ended it with a guy, I'm like, I'm getting off this roller coaster. I can't do this. And it wasn't until this spring that I realized that I'm the roller coaster. It's my roller coaster. And sometimes it is a crazy ride. And sometimes I'm like, dude, we got to pick up the speed. Like this is boring, which is when I usually get myself into trouble. But as soon as I realized it was my roller coaster, I realized I'm in control of it. I get to pick who gets on and off. I get to pick how fast it goes. I can stop the ride. I have an emergency stop button if I need it. I can do a loop-de-loop if I think that, it's going to be a fun day. And it really helped me understand that I am in love with the very flawed woman that I am. And it's okay. It's okay that some days I'm a little crazy and some days I want to cry and some days I want to be like, you get out of my way, guy. I got bills to pay. I got, goals to reach. And some days I'm a great mom and some days I'm like, I just don't have it in me today. Like, you guys are adults, go figure it out. And I think that's all just part of it. I think it's okay to have all of those parts of us exposed and only accept the people that really love us and care about us.
Oh,
Care is very different, right?
yes. Yes. Cause like that's authentic love. It's seeing you get hangry and a little annoying. Yeah, that's my woman's. I got to get her a sweet treat because she's going to get all pissy and stuff.
It's why I wear Snickers in my pocket so I can throw it at her. Like,
exactly. No, that's exactly it. It's authentically loving someone based on all those different parts. And what makes a secure person feel safe to care for that is the person being self-aware and accountable of all their different parts. Like the fact of your self-actualizing, of understanding that I'm going to have this because I am a human being, but it's my accountability and responsibility. Like it's the people that act crazy and cannot take accountability for it, or act wild and can't take it. There's one thing to be a human being, and there's other thing to be a human being and act like you're perfect. And that is two very different things.
Using hangry as an example, like my ex-husband, if he did not I literally kept granola bars in my pockets because in the tone in his voice, I could tell the second that he needed,
Yeah.
Food.
Right.
And so he would say something. I'd be like, here, eat this. And then let's talk in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know why you do this. It's so rude that you do this. I'm fine. I'm not hangry. Okay, but eat this granola bar and let's talk in 10 minutes. And then everything would be fine. And not understanding that it's okay that you get hangry. Like you said, it's okay to have the flaws or the triggers or the breakdowns, but give yourself grace. Know that the people that are around you that care about you, they don't care. They got a granola bar in their pocket and, they're willing to work through it. And you can apply that to all of the dysregulation that we go through.
100%. Yeah, no, totally. I mean, it's those situations where it's like, it's vice versa. If you want to have a safe space with someone, you have to be able to create a safe space for them too. And all relationships are different. That's what creates the culture of a relationship. That whole granola bar thing is beautiful. Like that's between you two. That's something you both have. And it's that understanding, and it looks different for everybody, but that's the reality of it. So I again, that's why I'm like so excited for you. Not only with the podcast and everything you've already accomplished, but for your love life and for your life in general. Like you've been on a beautiful path. And let's talk season 2. So we took the freaking world by storm season 1. Now we're in season 2. Talk to us about season 2 and what the future of the podcast is.
Well, so season 2 is all out now. And what ended up happening for season 2 is there's a couple episodes sprinkled in there that are more of my story. The first episode is me kind of talking about what the hell happened, in this last year and where I was at emotionally. And then there's an episode where I talk about a sexual assault that really altered who I was, in the dating world and didn't really realize it. But I share some listener stories. So people that reached out to me, and again, these are not sensational stories where you're going to see them on Dateline. These are women that something happened to them in their lives and with love, and it took them a while to figure it out, but they did. And so I tell Lou's story. I tell the story. Cash's story is just phenomenal. She is an amazing, amazing person. I tell a story of people that were toxic lovers in their 20s, and they both separated, did the work, and came back together and found love with each other again in a really healthy and amazing way. It is not a recommendation to reach out to your ex because they probably haven't done the work, but that it can't happen. So, that has been really, really great for me. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen for season 3. It's a lot. It's a lot emotionally. I'm running out of sad stories to tell. There's still a lot there, but I'm not sure. I just moved out to my beach house, which I talk about in season 1. So I'm out here full time, and I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm never gonna date again. There's 28 teeth in the 40 miles around me combined. Like, finding a man out here is gonna be difficult. But I don't really know what's next. I'm still working on a single family house right now for someone. So, kind of doing all my jobs.
I love it. Okay, well, I'm sure there's always sadness in the world. There's always sad stories been breaking. I think you'll find something. Well, that's truly beautiful to hear, and I think that's very therapeutic for all listeners to dive into other people's stories and how they navigated life and got on the other side of it, and to know that your beach house connection steering the ship, if you will, through navigating all these relationships, I'm sure is very beneficial to you as well. But again, and thanks for having me to be a part of it as well. That meant a lot too. But there's a question I want to ask, and I ask every guest, and I'm very curious what your answer will be. But if you could go in a time machine and you could go back to any age you want, and you could only share one thing to her, like, what would the age be, and what would you share to her?
I could pick any age. I literally, at any moment, preferably the younger the better, but really at any age of my life, until a few years ago when I sort of figured it out. But it would be to tell myself that it's okay to be yourself. They will love you. And that's it. Like, you don't have to sacrifice who you are to get that love, but just, you are loved. You're okay who you are. And as with Kanan, I wouldn't have changed that situation because of who it made me today. And I don't know that I changed a lot in my life, even if I had the chance. But I think if I would have really understood that I was okay who I was, and my mother not loving me didn't mean that nobody else was gonna, and that's really rough. That's the lack of mother love is a rough one because it's just so core to who we are.
Yeah,
but that's it. That I'm okay.
Beautiful answer. I love it. It's a beautiful answer. Yeah. I will add that based on everything that I've been hearing of you giving yourself compassion and letting yourself explore and letting yourself play and letting yourself dive into your passions, truly sounds like you are mothering yourself in a remarkable way. And that is truly beautiful to see. And not only that, through that passion and action, you've helped countless of people that you may never even know, because so missed 3 million plus listeners,
So I'm up to 6 million downloads now. So that was just that first rush. But at the end of the day, I'm really grateful to everyone that listens, and I hope they relate. I don't hope they relate. I hope they're like, what is this? She's, this doesn't happen in life. But if it resonates, I hope that they understand that they're not alone in really just how we feel as humans. My main goal has always been, though, with my kids, like, I wanted to give them a life that I didn't have, and to always know that they were the first priority and loved. So, and I've done that. So I've reached all my goals, Eli, except I still have my board. So I got some more. I got some more that I'm working on.
You put a sexy ass man on there, and a boring / exciting sexy ass man. You know, that's what they're
I need
here.
Clark Kent or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he is Clark Kent, like he's a nerd in the streets, but Superman in the sheets or whatever. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here and letting us get to know you. I'm going to put your show link in the show notes. Please, everyone, listen to this incredible story with also you and incredible other women as well. It's so therapeutic. It's so remarkable to see you move. And it truly was. You made my week, girl, because I was like, I can't wait to talk to her because there's so much here. But yes, I appreciate you, and I'm so incredibly proud of you. And thank you for being a part of the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on. And Eli, you do so much for your listeners and for the people that follow you just by acknowledging your flaws in your past and trying to figure out ways for you to move forward in the way you want to in life, and sharing it with others along the way. And I am truly grateful that I came across you and that we've been able to connect because it's definitely changed a lot in my life. So, anytime, and you know where to find me. So
yes. Thank you so much for sharing. Look at us hanging. I feel like the Spider-Man meme, just pointing fingers at each other, sharing, bless people of these streets. Real quick, social handles. Where can we follow you? Where can we see it?
It's Brittani.Ard everywhere on social media. My website, BrittaniArd.com. You can get links to everything. Patreon, all the episodes, merch, bios. Anybody that wants to reach out to me, I answer all DMs, all messages, all emails personally. It might take me a minute to get back to you, but I respond to every single listener personally, and it's a really big part for me. So anything you want to share, send me a message, tell me your story.
Love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you guys loved that episode with me and Brittani. She is a phenomenal, beautiful soul, and we had such a beautiful conversation. And it's truly amazing how you meet people along the way in life and what they could show you and what they could reveal to you, and what she's been able to turn into was absolutely stunning and has helped millions of women feel seen and heard and loved in their love lives. And I'm so incredibly proud of her. If you want to listen to her wild story, but relatable story, check out the link in the show notes is where you could find direct link to more about her and her podcast and all the exciting things. We actually have an episode together in our season 2. If you guys are interested in joining my coaching community, which is all about navigating your own attachment style, setting new boundaries, non-negotiables, and make dating a healing, safe space so you don't have to deal with these dusty ass men. We have group calls, unlimited group chats. And it's really a safe community and space for you to do the inner work. That you can check out the link in the show notes to join our coaching community and also get exclusive interviews with their guests and so much more. You guys are dope. You guys are beautiful. Thank you so much. Oh my God, are we having a moment right now? Oh my goodness. Okay, see you next week.
The SelfHype Podcast.